Hi everybody and welcome to this week's edition of Office 365 Insider. As usual, I'll take you through the Office 365 Message Center so we can see what incidents are currently open on my personal tenant, what issues have been resolved over the last 7 days, and then we'll go and have a look at the roadmap. So we'll see what features Microsoft has completed rolling out, what they're currently rolling out, and also what items have gone into development over the last week. It's important for you as either consultants or IT experts to know what's going on the Office 365 environment, because this is the only way you can go and support your users effectively. Maybe you're receiving support tickets for issues that aren't actually your fault, but knowing there's an issue on the platform means you can better support those users. Also, by knowing what features are rolling out, you can start preparing communications to those users to make sure they know what to expect coming up soon. So we're going to dive right in. We've got a week's worth of content to go through, so let's just go and have a quick look and see what we've got. First of all, we're going to go into the message center. So I've got 9 current items and 8 closed items. Now bear in mind these are issues in my own tenant, so yours may vary depending on what area of Office 365 your tenant is in. But this gives a good overview of what's currently happening. Okay, so 9 current issues. What are these? So some users are unable to create and access folders in their archive. This is for Exchange Online, and this has been going on since the 3rd of August. And users may be unable to create and access folders in their archive. Any user may be experiencing delays of over 60 minutes when sending email messages. So this is currently going on since the 29th of July. Search results may not return as expected. So in OneDrive for Business, we'll probably have a SharePoint corresponding one coming up. Users attempting to search their OneDrive for Business sites may not see the results they are expecting. Next one, for Microsoft Power Automate, any admin may be unable to see some custom connectors in Power Automate. That's been going on since the 27th of July. Search results may not return as expected. There we go, I told you. SharePoint Online one. We can generally assume that what affects OneDrive affects SharePoint Online. Users in China can't play back live events in Microsoft Streams. This one's been going on for a while. We discussed this last week. This is still an issue now. Any user intermittently unable to open non-Microsoft Office file links. This has been going on for some time as well. We also discussed this last week, so that's not been resolved yet. Some users may not receive My Analytics digest emails. Again, this has been going on since last week, so this looks like it's not been resolved yet either. Cortana daily briefing email not delivered. This has been going on since the 16th of July as well and still not resolved. However, there are 8 items that have been resolved in that time, so let's have a look at these. So for Microsoft Teams, can't perform multiple actions within the Teams client calendar. So users may have been unable to create, update, view and respond to calendar events within the Microsoft Teams client. That was on the 5th of August for just about an hour. So again on the 5th of August for a couple of hours, unable to connect to Outlook on the web. This one seems to rear its head quite often. All users can't access mailboxes via any connection method. This is the 4th for about half an hour, 40 minutes there. Exchange Online again, all users can't access mailboxes via any connection method. This is a false positive, so this means it was actually reported but deemed not to be an actual issue. Some users can't connect to legacy Microsoft Online PowerShell. That was about half a day there, 12 hours. All users may be unable to send or receive email through all Exchange Online connection methods. So these are kind of all related, I think, slightly different instance times, but it sounds like these are ongoing issues that Exchange has. We seem to come across these over and over and over. Any admin may be unable to initiate a message trace within the Exchange Online service. About 8 hours there. Actually, no, not 8, 16 hours most of the day on the 30th. Okay, so, oh, hang on, we've got one more, sorry, apologise. So, 8th one on Exchange Online again, some users experiencing shared calendar update problems on Outlook Mobile for iOS. So, shared calendars may not have been updated now. Okay, so not terrible issues there, nothing really significant, so that's good to know. I'd like to see these Exchange Online connection issues resolved. I think largely users don't notice these because Outlook obviously caches the mailbox. locally, so I guess in a lot of cases users don't realise that there's a delay in communications for some time. Okay, so what we'll do now is we're going to jump into the roadmap, so we'll have a little look at what's going on in the roadmap at the moment and see what's changing. So these are broken down into a number of different categories. First of all, we have closed items. These are items that have been discarded. Quite often that's because they've been rolled into other updates. There's none of them at the moment. Then we can look at the launched items. So there's currently 31 items that have completed their rollout within the last week. We've got 31 items that have entered the rolling out phase, 53 items that have entered the in development phase. Now, as usual, bear in mind this is not a complete set of items that are in these categories. These are the items that have entered this category within the last week. So we don't repeat ourselves over and over and make this video too long. So you do need to try and keep on top of this every week, watching this video, so you can see what changes on a week by week basis. So if I just go back into the screen, so we can say there's no cancelled items, but we have 31 items that have completed launching. So we'll go through and see what these are. Okay, so AIP scanner for on-premises available for government clouds. So that's Azure Information Protection. AIP unified labeling client for Windows available for government clouds. So I think based on what we saw last week, we're going to see a lot of functionality rolling into GCC and GCC High, I think, so that's probably going to be a common theme. So Microsoft Teams Reflect messaging extension. So this gives managers, leaders or teachers an easy way to check with how their team or students are feeling. We covered this last week, so it's quite a nice one. As I mentioned before, let's just think about data protection here. Let's think about GDPR and what we do with that information. But that's completed rollout, so that should now be available in all users' tenants. Microsoft Teams, class materials now accessible for Android devices. Microsoft Teams, new lobby settings, so only the organizer joins the meeting directly. So we saw a lot of these rolling out. Some of these have actually gone through and completed the rollout process pretty quick by the looks of it. Microsoft Teams, this new lobby setting, only the organizer joins directly. We'll just repeat. Yammer, so the new Yammer has rolled out, has completed rolling out. So the next phase of the new Yammer experience rollout did begin in mid-July. That apparently is now completed, so everyone should see the new Yammer. Microsoft Teams, Avaya session border controllers certified for direct routing. Microsoft's improved bookmarks administration and Microsoft Search. That's completed rollout now. Outlook for iOS, default online meetings. So when you create a new event in Outlook and your organization uses Teams or Skype for Business as your online meeting provider, Outlook will automatically create the event as an online meeting. So you can disable the online meeting with a toggle in each event. So if you are looking for in-person meetings, or if you use a different conferencing platform, just be aware that people may start to get Teams requests for meetings when maybe you don't intend them to. So just beware, everyone's familiar with that change in your organizations. Same for Outlook for Android, default online meetings. Renaming of groups to communities in Yammer. So this is now finished rolling out, so Yammer groups will now be called Yammer communities. Pin your favourite communities in Yammer. New publisher for Yammer web app. So this feature will soon be leaving preview as part of the new Yammer. Please see roadmap item 65410 for more details. Microsoft are expanding the use of the announcements so you can have the same reach with polls, questions or praise. Microsoft have made improvements for GIFs, videos, link previews and file attachments to make sharing content simple. Attach recently used files in Yammer. Pin conversations in Yammer communities. So this feature will soon be leaving preview as part of the new Yammer. The community managers can now pin a conversation to the top of the feed. This helps orient users by pinning a welcome message, sharing best practices. This is common functionality we expect across community platforms these days, so good to see this has been brought into Yammer. Community cover photos in Yammer, so your Yammer communities will be able to have a group photo, a community photo to represent what that community is all about. Close the conversation in Yammer. So along with pinning, Microsoft are also giving community managers the ability to close conversations. This is really useful as well, so if a conversation starts to get overly active with comments, then an administrator can actually close that off so no more comments are allowed going forward. Common moderation tool. Outlook on the web, option to create all meetings online. So we're seeing this across all the different client applications. Mobile video sharing from Yammer, so connect with your community instantly, capture, edit and share videos from your mobile device. Windows Virtual Desktop, customers can scale session hosts using Azure Automation with Spring Update. Whiteboard, sticky notes, text and selection. Participants in Teams and on web can now insert text, sticky notes and select move items on the board. As usual in this session, this is always a cue for a car alarm to go off. So thank you, Ramsbottom. This is exactly what we always want to see. So gotta love it. So we'll power on through. Hopefully the car alarm doesn't affect people too much. Oh, there we go. We're done. Okay, Whiteboard, hyperlinks in Windows 10. So reference any links during whiteboarding. You can now copy and paste a URL from your browser to the canvas, which creates a hyperlink card. Whiteboard, follow-up lists in Windows 10. So insert a follow-ups list from the add menu and assign the follow-ups to colleagues on the board. Export to CSV in Windows 10. So export the results of brainstorming and other activities. You can select a template and press the export button to generate a CSV. Whiteboard, email summary in Windows 10. So summary is automatically generated based on any templates in your whiteboard. If you haven't played with Microsoft Whiteboard yet, that's good. I really like it, so it's definitely worth exploring out. Okay, so Microsoft 365 Compliance Center. Remove a Teams message from the Teams chat or channel. Yammer Mobile, filtering community content for questions. So when you're using the mobile client, Yammer users will be, typo there, Microsoft. Yammer users will be able to filter community content to see all questions and unanswered questions while on mobile. Yammer's getting a lot of love. I've been saying this over the last couple of weeks, but Yammer's definitely been getting a lot of love recently. So change a regular conversation post into a question. We saw this rolling out last time. So if somebody posts a conversation, but it's actually a question, then that could be change type. Azure Active Directory, groups UX integration for just-in-time security group access. So customers can now assign a privileged role to a group in Azure Active Directory to make management easier. After delegating a role to a group, you can assign an owner and select administrators to manage membership. And to provide additional compliance and security, Microsoft recommends using privileged identity management to assign members as eligible for the role and activated upon approval for a specific time frame or using just-in-time access workflows. Okay, so that's everything that's entered the launched phase over the last week. So we also have 31 items that went into the rolling out phase. So sometimes this one goes into rolling out and launch within a 7-day period. Then maybe we might see some duplicates. It's interesting that we have an exactly same number there. Okay, so Office 365. So the rolling out also means this may be present in your tenant now, or it may not. Rolling out means it's got to work through a whole bunch of different servers, a whole bunch of different subsets of Office 365. It's not just one big platform. There's lots of different sub-farms and sub-areas in there. So you can typically expect a rolling out feature to take a week, couple of weeks, month, up to 3 months to roll out into all tenants. I think Microsoft's getting better at rolling things out quicker. So you may or may not see this yet, but it's what's coming soon, and it's time to start communicating these things to your users. Okay, so 31 items. Office 365 Advanced Message Encryption, email revocation by end user. Microsoft Teams, new experience for launching instant channel meetings for GCC customers. Okay, so we've seen this last week as well, and it's also coming to GCC. So the button for an instant meeting or a meet now is moving. Microsoft Teams, improved Teams meeting join launcher experience for GCC customers. So users who click on a Teams meeting join link will now see an optimized and improved join experience. Outlook on the web, in-product notification of full inbox for government clouds. So we've seen this in regular Outlook on the web so far, so this is also coming to government clouds shortly after. It's nice to see the speed that these are coming in a lot quicker. Outlook on the web, suggested replies for German and Spanish. We've seen this previously as well. Microsoft Teams, spell checker added for Teams desktop client on GCC High and DoD clouds. Security and Compliance Center, Advanced Audit available in GCC, GCC High and DoD. Microsoft Teams, presenter mode for Microsoft Whiteboard in a Teams meeting. So meeting organisers now have the option to present the contents of their digital whiteboard without meeting participants having the ability to edit the contents. Microsoft Teams, teacher-led team creation, so we've discussed this previously as well. So this feature allows admins to create Office 365 groups for classes based on the student and teacher roster information, but gives educators the choice of whether or not they want a team to be created for their class. Microsoft Edge version 0.86 kiosk mode privacy features are now available. So starting with Edge version 86, Microsoft are enabling kiosk mode features will help enterprises around will help enterprises around the privacy of user data. That doesn't make sense. The features will enable experience such as clear the user data on exit, delete the downloaded files, and reset the configured start experience after a specified amount of idle time. Edge version 86, single sign-on now available for Azure Active Directory accounts on down-level Windows. I wonder if this will let my Mac sign in to Edge again. Oh, there we go, yeah. So Microsoft Edge version 86, single sign-on now available for Microsoft account on Mac OS and down-level Windows. Group policy, so again, Edge again. Group policy to enable Microsoft Edge UI to test sites in Internet Explorer mode. Yes, there are still people who use Internet Explorer. We come across them every day. We will be happy when they stop using Internet Explorer. Microsoft Edge version 86, remove HTML5 application cache API. So the legacy application cache API enabling offline use of web pages is being removed from Microsoft Edge. Web developers should review the web.dev documentation for information on replacing the use of application cache API with service workers. Edge again, automatic profile switching on Windows 7, 8 and 8.1. So just taking that functionality to previous levels of Windows. Outlook for Mac, book a physical workspace. So you will be able to use your calendar in Outlook to reserve a physical workspace at your office location in a similar way to conference room booking. So again, this is obviously new normal coming into organisations, maybe not going all the way back to offices, but maybe having some co-working or hot desking ability, so users can book a workspace to go and work from. Microsoft Teams channel info pane. So selecting the channel info icon in the channel header will display summary information related to that channel, including the description and a list of recent contributors and members, as well as system messages. Microsoft Teams multi-window chat. So users will be able to pop out individual Teams chat conversations into a separate window to help them streamline their workflow and more easily move between ongoing conversations. This is great. This is something we've needed for a long time. The amount of times I'm in a Microsoft Teams call and I need to go and reference a document in Teams as well, and it takes me away from the experience. It's very frustrating. So I'm very happy to see the breakout of multiple windows here. SharePoint, download SharePoint site usage data in Excel. So site owners and members will be able to download their site's 90-day usage data in an Excel report directly from the site usage page. Communication compliance now detects repeat code of conduct violations over time. So communication compliance will now surface during the investigation flow repeated violations over time, such as bullying, to help you prioritise remediation actions. New communication compliance reports. So Microsoft are introducing new communication compliance reports such as review activity to help you track matches and actions taken by reviewers over time. Microsoft Word, transcription in Word for the web. So whether you are a researcher, reporter, lawyer, teacher, or anyone else who records and transcribes audio, you know how much time and effort it takes. Transcription in Word for the web enables you to easily record audio and transcribe directly in Word for the web. Transcription allows you to play back timestamped audio, and you can quickly pull the whole transcript or specific quotes into your Word document. That's quite impressive. I mean, that's processor-intensive activity to do that. So to run that through the web-based version of Word, I think is quite smart. Well done, Microsoft. Communication compliance detects adult content. So communication compliance can now detect adult, racy and gory images using Azure's computer vision algorithms. That's going to be interesting. Can't wait to see what reports everyone starts pulling off there. Microsoft Word, voice commands in dictation for Word for the web. Voice commands in dictation for Word for iOS. Voice commands in dictation for Word for Android. Microsoft Teams device tagging functionality. So as part of enhanced manageability, Microsoft are releasing device tagging functionality. It will enable IT admins to group a specific set of devices with user-generated tags to perform actions on the same. Word transcription in Word for the web with automatically individualized speakers. So transcription now separates out speakers as speaker 1, speaker 2, etc. Interesting. Microsoft Edge version 85, so previous to the version we spoke about earlier, which was 86. So version 85 is getting support for Microsoft Endpoint Data Loss Prevention. Edge version 85, again, the previous version of what we spoke about before. Easier configuration and export of favorites for the configure favorites policy. Okay. Right, so that's everything from the launched and rolling out phase. So what we'll do now is we're going to look at the in-development stuff. So the items now are a longer term view of what's going to come along to the platform in the future. So these may not show up for weeks, months, or at all. They could still get pulled out of this category. So we need to take this with a little bit more of a grain of salt, but it gives an early warning of the type of things that's going to happen to the platform. So again, you're better prepared to advise your users when the time comes for them to roll out. So we've got 53 items that have gone into development. So again, it's not the full list of items in development, it's just the new items that have entered that category. Okay, so 53, let's get through these as quick as we can. Azure Information Protection, Microsoft 365, Government, F3, GCC High and DoD environments are now backfilled with Azure Information Protection P1. Microsoft Teams, new turn-in celebrations. So after each successfully, this is for education, so after each successfully turned in assignment, students can view a small congratulatory animation for their efforts. Microsoft Teams, again in education, apply policy packages using groups with Microsoft Teams Admin Center. Microsoft Teams, again in education. We saw a lot of education stuff last week, so I guess there's a lot of stuff here as well still. Anonymous grading and marking in assignments. So this allows teachers to anonymize who submitted the assignments that have been submitted, hopefully to reduce any bias. I still question whether teachers can figure out which students submitted which assignments, but I'll leave that to the teachers and the educators to tell me if I'm right or not. Microsoft Teams, improvements to settings in assignments, so educators will be able to set defaults when assignments are due, when notifications of an assignment are posted, and more. A little note there, settings are class specific. Microsoft Teams for Education again, view all upcoming assignments in the Teams calendar. Again, education teams, assignments user interface improvements for large classes. So improve the speed of viewing and creating assignments for classes of up to 200 students. Interesting, I wonder what classes have 200 students. I wonder if this is more targeted towards remote courses, so things like an online photography course that may have lots of online users rather than typical education classes. Microsoft Teams, assignments improvements to support large file sizes and counts. So assignments will now support sizes up to 500 megabytes and more than 10 total attachments per assignment. Link thumbnail preview in assignments. View assignments across all classes. I'm just going to reel these off because these are all Microsoft Teams and education. Early class access API. So there's an API coming for class information. School data sync, automatic team creation. We've seen these last week, so I think some of these are repeated. Language support for assignments, so additional supported languages to include Croatian, Estonian, Greek, Hungarian, Indonesian, Latvian, Lithuanian, Romanian, Slovenian, Ukrainian and Vietnamese. Microsoft Teams hard audio mute, so this gives meeting organisers the ability to mute one-to-many meeting participants while removing the muted participants' ability to unmute themselves. Microsoft Teams, grade sync to OneRoster API. Available in the Office, Microsoft Forms available in the Office mobile app, as we saw this last week as well. So Microsoft is unifying all of the Office apps, the Word, PowerPoint, Excel, into a single app on mobile devices, and Microsoft Forms is getting brought into that as well. Microsoft Teams Together mode, so we're actually seeing this rolling out. I need to just check some of these items for next week. But Together mode, people are starting to see that. Just visualise all of your meeting participants as if they're in the same room. Microsoft Teams large gallery view, so up to 49 participants. Microsoft To Do, support for sharing personal lists. Updated Office.com homepage, so Microsoft are updating the layout and navigation of Office.com and the Office app in Windows 10 to improve the usability based on customer feedback. This will users will find their documents front and centre, and will be able to access their applications within a more organised page structure. Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection, preset security policies for EOP and Office 365 ATP security. Microsoft Teams, updates to Teams usage reports in the great English again, Microsoft. Please, Microsoft, when people are updating the roadmap, please check your grammar and your spelling. And people do read this. Well, I read this, no one else does. Microsoft Teams, updates to Teams usage reports in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center and the Teams Admin Center. Outlook on the web, Project Mocha is preview. So Project Mocha in Outlook is a new way to organize items such as email, tasks, links, files in a visual way. Items are synced across Microsoft 365. Doesn't explain it very clearly, so maybe you go have a look at Project Mocha. I've seen this a little bit, so interesting to have a look. Security and Compliance Center, advanced audit available in GCC, GCC High and DoD. I'm sure that will be welcome. Microsoft Teams, using Teams background images in non-optimized virtual desktop infrastructure environments. Microsoft Edge version 86, kiosk mode privacy features are now available. Discussed that already. Outlook for iOS, drag and drop files into Outlook. So drag and drop files from apps such as OneDrive, Photos and Safari into Outlook on your iPad. Microsoft Teams, Windows native notifications in Teams. So users can now choose to deliver Microsoft Teams notifications via Windows 10 native notifications. I'm not going to lie, I think I would prefer that. I'm not really a big fan of the notification toast elements in Teams, so I prefer them to come through as Windows 10 notifications. macOS native notifications in Teams, again, I would certainly prefer that, so that's a welcome addition. Microsoft Teams, turn off text previews for chat notifications. So users can get more privacy by changing their settings to turn off message previews and chat notifications. That kind of functionality is particularly useful when I'm doing sessions like this. So if I'm doing a demo or a customer demo or recording a video, I maybe don't always want my colleagues' messages to be displayed while I'm recording. That's all I'll say. PowerPoint, live captions and subtitles in PowerPoint for GCC and GCC High. Whiteboard, additional content types, so participants in Teams and on web can now insert additional content types such as shapes and diagrams. Whiteboard presenter mode, so the meeting organizer can put Whiteboard in present or collaboration mode, present or collab mode. Present mode makes all participants read only and allows the meeting organizer to enable collaboration later if needed. Whiteboard, external access in Teams meeting. So any guests, external or anonymous users in Teams meeting can view and collaborate on the whiteboard during the meeting. They will not have continued access to the whiteboard after the meeting. and my mouse has just decided to stop working. Let's switch over to this one. Whiteboard, tap app in Teams. So Whiteboard will be available as a tab app in Teams. Whiteboard will be available as a tab app inside Teams, making it easy to pin a whiteboard to a channel. Easier to pin it than to say it, I think. Whiteboard per user licensing, so tenant admins will be able to use licenses to enable or disable access to Whiteboard at an individual user level instead of only at the global tenant level. These licenses currently exist in the tenants today but are not used for enablement. Whiteboard, Australia Go Local, so new whiteboards created by tenants in Australia will now be stored in local data centres. Previously created boards will be migrated in the future. Whiteboard migrating previously created boards. So tenants in locations that are currently storing new whiteboards in European data centres will have previously created whiteboards migrated to European data centres. Whiteboard locking content. So participants in Teams and on web can lock content types on the board to prevent accidental movement or deletion. That will be useful. Whiteboard attribution. Participants in Teams and on web can see who added content to the board. Whiteboard, additional facilitation features. So participants in Teams and on the web will have additional facilitation features. Okay, thank you. That's a really useful description to the title. Storage in SharePoint Online. So Whiteboard content will be stored in SharePoint Online going forward. Microsoft Teams, updated meeting creation and exploration policies. So Microsoft are making changes to how Teams meetings and join links are accessible for meeting organisers who have had their scheduling capabilities revoked. OneNote in Teams for DoD. So OneNote integration in Teams will be enabled for Department of Defence tenants. I'm sure that will be welcome. OneNote feed in Outlook and Outlook on the web. So the OneNote feed allows you to easily access your notes in Outlook.com and Outlook on the web. The OneNote feed includes your sticky notes and recent OneNote pages, so you can quickly reference them in Outlook and use the search to find the note you are looking for. Have a quick thought while replying to emails. You can create a new sticky note in your feed and write in Outlook. OneNote feed in OneNote Online, OneNote 2016 and OneNote for Windows 10. So similar to what we just spoke about, but in different clients. Microsoft Edge version 85, preview version of Enterprise Site List Manager for Internet Explorer mode. So starting with Microsoft Edge 85, a preview version of the Enterprise mode Site List Manager will be available through Edge compat/Site List Manager. You can use this page to create, edit and export your site list XML for Internet Explorer mode on Edge. Microsoft Edge version 86, single sign-on now available for Azure Active Directory accounts on down-level Windows. Edge version 86, I think we've actually seen these already. We've gone through to rolling out in the same amount of time. Yeah, we've seen all these. Automatic print, seen these. New design for Yammer Discovery and Digest email. Okay, so new design for Yammer Discovery and Digest emails. So there we go. That is everything that is new in the roadmap over the last 7 days. Quite nice, as we can see where some of the investment's going. Yammer's definitely getting a lot of love. I think Whiteboard is getting a lot of love, a lot more content being moved out to GCC and DoD tenants, so that's always good to see. And education, class and assignments is getting a lot more love as well. So I think Microsoft's jumping on the fact that students may need more remote education going forward. So good to see all that. So nice and short, only about 33 minutes this week. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will be back next week with the updates from between now and then. Thank you, have a great weekend, and I will see you next week.